Hello again, Gooners, or is it that way? Well, I'm talking to you in a time when some of us are feeling depressed, and it's not because of the economic climate, because they keep telling us it's getting better, and it's not getting better on the pitch at the moment. But or is it? Can we blame the referee for the defeat against Bayern Munich? I don't personally think we can blame the referee at all. But before I start talking about that, I'll tell you what's coming up. I'm going to talk about Sanogo. That's a plus. Then there's a few minuses, unfortunately. We've got to talk about Ozil and everything surrounding him. Rosicky, Szczesny. What else? Substitutions, Arsene Wenger's substitutions. I might even briefly mention Robin and perhaps even Olivier Giroud, as well as prioritising. Does Arsene Wenger know what that means? Well, perhaps he will if he's watching this, which I doubt he is. But then, let's be optimistic. But I'm not optimistic about our possible progression through to the Champions League, whatever the next stage is, because it's just not going to happen, is it? 2-0 down. Okay, we went to the Alliance Arena last time, what was it, about a year ago, and we got a 2-0 result in our favour. That's not going to happen again. Lightning doesn't strike twice, as they say. And certainly, I just jumping the gun a little bit, I would prioritise other competitions because clearly it's too tall an order, even though we've got one of the tallest players in the world, if you forgive the pun, Per Mertesacker. Well, I just can't see us getting a result there. I just can't see it. And therefore I wouldn't play, as Jamie Carragher's been saying on Sky Sports, I wouldn't play my best team. I would rest a few players. I wouldn't go out there and throw the match. Far from it. I try to win the game, but with like an FA Cup team. Look at our FA Cup team that managed to beat Liverpool. That wasn't on paper our strongest side. We put Sanogo in. Sanogo had a good game, as he did tonight. And it's worth taking those risks, because if you don't take those risks, then how are we going to know what players are like? They end up disappearing elsewhere, like Chu Young Park at Watford, of course. And Rio Miyachi, where is he? I'd like to know that. Last I heard, he played for the under-21s against Chelsea, had a reasonable game, but he still doesn't even make the bench. So something strange going on with certain players. And talking of something strange going on with certain players, what's going on with Mesut Ozil? Michael Ballack said something really interesting tonight. I'm just going to quote this because I don't want to get this wrong. He said he looks lost in this team, and he said he went through his history at Arsenal. He said in the first few games he looked good. He said that he has to do a lot of work defensively, which clearly he does with Arsenal. And he said he doesn't have the acceptance of his teammates. Well, the other guests in the studio were trying to interrupt Michael Ballack at that time, so perhaps that affected what he said. But he said a player like Ozil should be untouchable. Well, clearly you can see his teammates having a go at him. There was Flamini, who had a reasonable game but lost his players now and then. When he was marking players, he seemed to lose them. They were talking in the studio about the zonal marking suddenly became man for Bayern's second goal, but that would be digging deep into some of the failings tonight. I think the failings go a lot deeper than that. And Ozil, maybe he doesn't feel appreciated because we're not seeing the best of him. I thought we saw a decent performance from him against Liverpool, but the media, for whatever reason, seem to miss that. So they're focusing on all the negatives with Ozil, and when he stepped up to take the penalty tonight, I clearly, like most people, thought he was going to miss. He just, even though he was the one who won the penalty, surely it's an Arsenal tradition not to take the penalty if you're the man that's been fouled in the area. Usually that's the tradition. Well, somebody hasn't told Ozil about it, and so there he goes. He picks the ball up, doesn't look confident, and consequently he didn't miss the target. At least he hit the target. But all along, everybody must have predicted it was going to be a save by the goalkeeper, and that's exactly, of course, what happened. So what can we do about Ozil? We can't really drop him, can we? I was thinking at that stage, I thought he's just not going to play now, and he didn't really contribute a lot from that point on, although he did start off brightly. He is a confidence player, and if you keep nagging a confidence player, he's only going to get worse. So we've had Per Mertesacker gave him a public dressing down at Manchester City away. Ozil came out and replied, sorry, and apologised. But nonetheless, it's just not really going to do his confidence any good. The fans don't really sing his name. I'm not blaming the fans for that, because Ozil's not done much more than Andre Arshavin. Look what happened to him. Again, Do we have the kind of team that sets itself up to play a proper number 10, a number 10, the luxury kind of number 10, the ball player, the one who hits that final ball and doesn't really have to put a lot of work in? I'd say the way the team is set up at the moment, we don't really provide a number 10 with that kind of space much of the time. Most of the time, if you're tracking back all the time, how can you produce going forward? That's my argument. Of course, we even expect to press from the front, which is fair enough. That's a modern game nowadays. So we had Sanogo in instead of Giroud. I imagine because Sanogo's work rate at the moment is higher than Giroud, because Giroud is off form for whatever reason. He might have been getting up to this and that, or he might not have been getting up to things alleged by the Sun newspaper. We don't know, but it's very strange Arsene Wenger left him out today, so that worried me straight away. But Sanogo put in a decent shift, and he's one of the few pluses that we can take from that game. I'm not so sure that anyone really covered themselves in glory. The Ox, of course, he always seems to play well, and well, that didn't change. But the strange thing is Arsene Wenger substituted him. I'm not too sure why he did that. Maybe he thought he was tiring, but again, I would have considered taking Ozil off, but what message would that have sent to the player? So I can see Arsene's point of view. If he left Ozil on just for that reason, I can sort of understand it, because as I said, it's kind of a write-off when you're down to 10 men because of Szczesny's rush of blood. I was going to make some silly joke about which is more rash, a piece of bacon or Szczesny. Good job I didn't make that joke, because it fell flat on its face. But anyway, I was going to say Szczesny has got to learn to stay on his line at times. He shouldn't come rushing out and take the player when I'm not saying there was no need, but he could have closed him down. Why does he have to? Why does he have to go to the next step, which is actually foul the player? But it's easy for us to sit here and criticise. Of course, I think Szczesny's an excellent keeper, and he's only going to improve, but he does need to calm down a little bit. Fabianski came in. He had a decent game against Liverpool, so he was on the crest of a wave, and he didn't need to save the penalty, of course, because it was put against the woodwork. It was placed against the woodwork, really. So it was a let-off. But then we were down to 10 men against Bayern Munich, and that was never going to be easy. And it was quite interesting hearing the pundits saying, bring on Rosicky. So clearly I'm in a minority thinking Rosicky doesn't add very much to the team. In the final analysis, he didn't really offer much extra to the team. He nearly got himself sent off. He got booked, and then following that, he shoulder charged a player for no particular reason. He could have got sent off. We could have been down to 9 players. Personally, I wouldn't bring Rosicky on. He's a decent squad player. That's about as far as it goes, in my opinion, at least. So then, well, we lost Gibbs, of course. He looks like he's got a hamstring injury. He could be out for a long time. Monreal came in, didn't play as well as I would have liked, and many of us must have felt the same, I'm sure. Cazorla was substituted first, which was a strange move. Cazorla, I thought, was having a decent game. But again, it goes back to Ozil. Could Arsene Wenger take him off? But then when the Ox came off, clearly the fans were disgruntled with that move. We need a player like Robin. I've been saying this for a long time, a proper winger. We haven't got a proper winger. What we've got are a number of midfielders, most of them attacking minded, and most being played out of position. So it looks chaotic at times, in my opinion. So I think there are some issues that need addressing, but we do have a good chance of winning the trophy. So please, Arsene, don't blow it. Please prioritise the cups we can win, because the Champions League is out. Sorry to be so negative, but that's how I see it. Until the next time, up the Gooners.